Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very important update from the Rails of War Network and Stockpile teams. I am Miller, co-owner of Rails of War Network and Stockpile, and I'm here to say congratulations, it's the 1 year anniversary of the Rails of War networks, with the original branch, Repainted, being created on the 30th of last year. It was decided that Rails of War had gone too long without an update. As such, the Stockpile team was formed, and many new members have been collected along the way. Some new faces, and some old that you're bound to recognise. Anyway, over this last year we've been able to grow massively. From the beginning, where we were just trying to figure out some basic code, to trying to make small changes to work out what does what. We're now at the point where we're implementing our own locomotives and rolling stock, a very exciting feat for a small community and group. Well, I suppose this is the natural point for me to talk about what's coming, because that brings us up to the present moment. Now, as I'm sure some of you will have been able to ascertain, the update is going to be based around a military group, the War Department Light Railway of the First World War. Now, this organisation was built in 1915 and was made to attempt to deal with the crippling supply situation on the Western Front. As you can imagine, France and Belgium are reasonably wet countries, and so when you have roads that are being trucked along with horses, carts and of course lorries, they get boggy very quickly. This meant that many troops were going hungry and it was impossible to fight a war. As such, an emergency committee was put together, and the War Department Light Railways were built. This new organisation had new light track that could be laid down in less than 15 minutes, and new light locomotives to go with it. They were responsible for most of the supply of the front line trenches in the First World War, an often forgotten feat. One has to remember that these trains and locomotives were actually supplying 350,000 tonnes of ammunition, food and medical supplies to the front lines every week, and that's only for 1 kilometre of trench. When you consider the war was over 4 years, it's quite a massive task. Anywho, despite their amazing role in the war, they've often been relegated as a footnote in contemporary histories of the First World War. A great shame, but understandable when you consider the glorious charges, the dangerous dogfights in rackety old biplanes, and of course the dangerous artillery barrages which could easily get one killed. Despite this, however, we think it's fitting to make our own War Department Light Railways stock. Of course, how could we not include the iconic Simplex 20 horsepower motor rail, the workhorse of these War Department Light Railways, and, of course, very popular in service in industry post-war. In fact, so popular, they are widely accredited as the reason why most of the British industrial narrow gauge network is now 2-foot gauge, not the pre-war 2'6" or 3-foot gauge. This will mean that not only will the locomotive and rolling stock be fitted for the usual purpose, supplying the Tommies and the front lines, but of course they will fit in any warehouse, industry or private railway. We also have a small rake of wagons, little 2-axle things that I'm sure will be useful to load up with gravel, sandbags, ammunition, shells, etc. Anything your heart desires. Well, that's about it from the update. I'm sure there'll be plenty more on your way soon, and as more content gets made and implemented with some stability, which is the main issue with us, I'm sure I will keep you guys updated. Thank you for tuning in, and happy anniversary. Cheerio!